Test, test. There we go. Can you hear me? Am I cutting out? Test, test. Test, test. Test, test. Oh, I'm not talking. Can you hear me now? Oh, cool. All right. Well, then I'll stop typing. Can you see my screen? Cool. Um, this is the 5 minute chart. Drew a trend line here just to kind of show where there's support and resistance levels. Let's see here. This is kind of over the weekend. So going into a new month and going into the markets, it needs to hold above this line to in order to continue upward. It's going to at a point it'll get to a point where this wedge will either break above or come below it. And unfortunately, because crypto has been tied to uh, the Nasdaq and tech companies, uh, it tends to Bitcoin and all the crypto tend to follow the markets now. Because we've had a rally, a lot of people are buying into your Ethereums and your Bitcoins. I've seen a lot of other exchanges besides the ones that have declared bankruptcy and are holding people's money hostage. I've seen the exchanges, the volume just kind of fade out quite a bit compared to normal. So really, the only crypto that's trading with decent amount of volume that you can get in and get out of, that we would see any kind of significant movement up or down on, is going to be, of course, your Bitcoin and your Ethereum. So uh, let's see what it happens when the market opens tomorrow. Um, it could come back down to this level here and bounce back up. It's kind of hard to say where crypto is going to fall into things. I haven't traded anything. Uh, Probably I haven't held anything probably more than a day or two at the most, just because everything can change on a dime, and that includes crypto. Used to you could watch the SPY and Bitcoin would react before, just a little bit before the SPY would. Now that's from what I've seen, that's kind of changed where the markets will react and then crypto will follow. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. Let's take a look real quick though. We'll compare that to what's going on here. It's kind of hard to see. This is actually flipped out on another TV screen I've got here that's turned on its side. But what we're looking at for is the futures here. The ES is important. The ES it's made it above the 4,000 level. It's trying to hold the 4,100, and that's going to be important going into tomorrow's trading day. The other is the NQ. Where's she at here? Here we go. NQ's kind of just stuck in a range right now. 12,900 is the level to hold. If it breaks below that, we could come back down to 12,850. And because it's really close to the 13,000, last Friday, last week, um, it broke above and tested the 13,000 and came back down towards the end of the trading day. So the good news is that it's holding the 12,900 level. Any kind of bad news that's reported tomorrow could send it lower, but lately we've been seeing bad news is good news, and the market rally higher. Uh, Personally, I think this is I guess what you could call a bull trap, a bull rally trap, um, because the Wall Street is still adding to their short positions, their puts. Wall Street's been buying up a lot of puts over the last few months because, for obvious reasons, the economy is contracting and things are pulling back, which is going to cause companies to lay off. And they have been, but on a much more massive scale across the U.S. You're going to see a lot of businesses going out, a lot of your new businesses or businesses that don't have what's called pricing power, your Walmarts, your Colgate, and a lot of the companies that produce necessary products that people have to have in order to live. Even McDonald's has a little bit of pricing power, but even McDonald's has seen they're starting to see a significant pullback in people coming in and eating. So the long term, and I say long term, probably starting in September, you're going to start to see the markets really start to pull back. I don't know if we're going to get a good, decent sized bull rally going into the end of August. Um, kind of just have to play it by ear. The Jerome Powell, the Fed, is not set to speak until September, and I think it's at that point where you'll start to see, kids go back to school, parents. Oh, ETH 2.0, man, I honestly don't know enough about it to say whether or not. I mean, there's crypto is following the markets. Um, it's the moment that who was it? The same brothers that were involved with Facebook and Zuckerberg stole their idea from them. Those guys, once they were able to create derivatives and you could short crypto, that changed everything. And so now that a lot of people have gotten um, sort of washed out of the whole trading system and lost a shit ton of money, now it's kind of just down to the people, the big whales, and a few of your retail traders that still have some trading money left over. So there's we're it's going to be very difficult for Bitcoin to get back over 50,000 in this market. And so when you say um, when anyone says that or asks the question if there's a pump, is there a possibility of a pump? There's going to be little smaller micro pumps, if you will. If we go back to take a look at Ether, let's see what some of the historic levels are here. Historic support on the daily. So you've got, we're coming up to 100 moving average here. So you can see where there's a lot of resistance every time, every day. The last week that it's pushed up to that line, it hasn't really been able to break through it. And when I say break through it, I mean it needs to break through that level and then come back and retest that level and bounce off of it for a move higher. Um, until it can break through at least the 100 MA. Um, most people look at the 200 MA, and maybe I don't have it on here. Nope, sure don't. Let's see the 200. I haven't used these charts for crypto in a while. All right, so I'm gonna change these here. The 100 needs to be yellow and 200 needs to be red. All right, let's see here. All right, so still at the 100 MA moving average until we can break through that. Um, you're not going to see this go much higher. What you can look for though, yeah, is just keep an eye on this over the next week or two because it should keep bouncing off of if the momentum and the volume, if the momentum is strong and the volume is there, you're going to see this to continue to bounce off of this trend line here and slowly go up. And once it reaches this point in here, it's going to have to make a decision. Traders are going to trade off of that line, and don't be surprised if you see when is that? That's August, the end of the first week in August. So we might see it break through that and retest it for a possible move higher to what's the next level here? Yeah, so we'll see. Well, it'll hit this support line, previous resistance line in this case, previous resistance line before it'll hit the 200 MA. So that's what you're going to look for. You want to look for the break. The it'll probably continue to bounce. Now, as a trader, you could day trade this thing. Look at this. And my chart's not exact, but you could draw a support line through here and see that it's bouncing up. There are buyers coming in and buying off of these lines and curling upwards. So this will come back on the 5-minute chart. Let's see what it looks like. 30-minute. There we go. So it's a 30-minute chart. Every time it bounces or gets down here, if volume comes in, where's my volume? Is there no fucking volume here? Wow, this is stupid. Okay, so there's no volume on Webull, which is ridiculous, but if you look at the charts and volume starts coming in and it continues to bounce here, just if you're not in it, buy it off this trend line. Keep a tight stop. You know, you've got a this type of candle shows that there's a lot of selling pressure, but it was able to maintain its support up here. So, you know, if it reaches down to the 1600 level and it loses, breaks past that line, then you might want to keep a stop loss around that area or consider cutting your losses if it continues down. But again, that's based on the market, the overall market, on the news. You kind of have to take all those things into consideration before you cut your loss and when you take your profit. Because if it keeps this this is almost a gravestone doji here, which is usually a bearish indication, but it maintained and came up to the, on this case, on the 30-minute, it came off the 200 MA and is hitting some resistance and coming back down again, but it's starting to curl again. You could buy in and look to see if it'll break through that 200 again. There's, if you take a look at the amount, you're looking at 1686 up to, it's about $10, possibly even up to, so you're looking at 15 bucks. So depending on how much you trade, you can trade within that range and make a little bit of profit, or you can just hold for the possible um, push up to the 17, past the 1700 level. That's kind of a long-winded version, but I hope that tries to answer your question. What's up, man? We were just talking about Ether. Oh, that's perfect, man. You're just in time. If anybody's got a ticker or something, I'll spit some what I call knowledge out. It's just my interpretation of things. Um, yeah, let's take a look at SPY. And I like to take a look at a little bit of everything too. This is my Webull account. I really like the charting here, so I'm going to use the Webull chart. I got all kinds of shit going on here, so bear with me. Let's maximize this. I've had this kind of supply zone here for a while, and it grinded through that this last week pretty well. You, let's take a look at the futures real quick. Well, uh, like in the NQ right here, we've been trading in a range over the weekend, so there's no really significant. Granted, no news has come out either. I think Johnny posted earlier. We've got a couple items that are going to be dropping here in the morning. But when you take a look, and when I say this, I'm taking a consensus of what other uh, very well-known traders, very well-known um, guys that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. I'm taking kind of their input as well, and the consensus from everyone is the the biggest of the numbers, CPI data, And what we got last week was it's been reported. Apple, Microsoft, all the big companies have reported. It was not as bad as Wall Street expected. And because of that, that's why one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing a big push up. But at the same time, Wall Street is also still continuing to add to their short positions. They're buying a shit ton of put option contracts much further out into the end of the year and into next year. So there's the everyone still agrees that we're basically still fucked. And it's just a matter of time before the rug kind of gets pulled out from everybody. So I would still consider this kind of a bull trap. Eh, Definitely don't want to hold anything over the weekend unless you absolutely have to, or if you can afford to lose that and you want to gamble, the shit's been paying off. Tesla's been hitting. The Street and DK, dude, those guys are killing it on the SPY. They really know how to trade the SPY. I'm I'm not I'm not that good at trading the SPY. I can't stay in a trade for very long, and that's why I trade Tesla. Tesla's been really good to me lately. But and all that's going to change too in a couple weeks. Next week, the options contracts have been more. Um, I've made more money off the options contracts because the VIX has come down a lot. And props to DK on this, but the VIX over the last, when we were trading up here in this range, the options contracts and the Greeks were all shit. And now that we've started to come down, even though we popped up here right in this area, as soon as we hit this level here and started coming down, your premiums, your option premiums have started to get really good. And I'm actually starting to see significant profit. But my neighbor made 45,000 on Tesla last week from his $5,000 account, and only trading Tesla. But the premiums have gotten much better. The IV crush is not as bad, but I still can't play earnings. Even my lotto picks, things that really should have hit, um, are not hitting, and I'm not getting any profits, and I'm lucky to break even on any kind of earnings plays because the options in the Greeks and the IV crush is so bad. But the the options contracts, if you buy it the week before, leading up into earnings, that's been profitable. It's not been a shit ton of money. Um, my best trade ever, I took a $20 Netflix put, and the next day, towards the end of the day in the afternoon, that was $1,000. $20 into 1,000 to 5,000%. I don't think I'll ever get that again, but that's because the VIX was low and that was the last quarter earnings. Now that premiums are all fucked up and market makers have been manipulating this shit very, very well over the last 3 months, we're just now starting to see premiums come back into more of a realistic and profitable area because otherwise you have to trade the way that um, street trades, which is buying 100, or my neighbor, he bought, what was it? Yeah, I think it was almost 1,000 contracts on 0 day type of plays, and you can make a lot of money, but you've got to be very, very specific and nail the your entries and exits. It's very, very technical, and I don't. I'm trying to get into the 0 days to expiration trades, but the timing is everything. Very key. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll show you what I came across here. What I like to do every night is kind of scour the internet and YouTube and kind of see what other people are thinking about and seeing. I came across this yesterday. This kind of sums up your seasonal type of trading. September has always been um, a here we've got a volatility spike, but then in going into midterms in September every year for a very long time, September is always the worst month of the year. Because and the theory, one of the theories is that you've got a lot of kids go back to school, parents do a shit ton of spending, and then they stop, and then everyone tightens up their budget, the market contracts until you get into the November and Christmas, and then people spend a little bit of money for Christmas, and then we roll into the next year. So the volatility will go up in September and in October, but I fully expect the rug to be pulled at the very latest sometime in September. Now, whether or not we're going to get an August rally, it's a long rally, man. I don't see the SPY going to 450 for sure. That shit ain't going to happen. But mm, that's right. That's right. And they've done that over and over again for a long time. Yeah, he knows. Yep. Sure. Hmm. Here's what you want to look for your next level. That 200. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, we'll see how it does off of the support line. And someone had asked about Ethereum. This is kind of what I was talking about when you have to take a look at the overall markets because while Ethereum might be kind of trading on an uptrend a little bit and crypto's kind of starting to look halfway decent, uh, if the spike hits this 200 MA and you get some kind of news, then that it's going to drop down. The question is, if it bounces off that 200 MA, how far is it coming down? And the market is an ebb and flow kind of a thing. So you take it with you take it the market direction, knowing that it's going to change at any minute now. The way you predict where it's going are with some of these key uh, support and resistance levels. And in this case, you've got the 200 MA. If you were to look left on the chart and see, okay, well, I'm starting to see kind of a line form here that is some type of previous resistance and support. Well, shit, that almost lines up with the 200 MA. So now you have two factors that support your theory, maybe this level right over here. And I remember last week a lot of folks were saying that that 416 level is the key level. This is what everyone's going to be looking at this week. From a trader's perspective, if we take a look at the 1 hour, let's reset this chart so we can kind of see things a little bit better. We're not far from that. We could easily hit this today. Now, if the news that comes out, and again, this news, the worst news has already hit the wires for this last month, CPI data, inflation, and everything. And the companies have already reported. We don't have any major companies that not your Apples, not your Microsoft, Teslas, etc. Those companies are not reporting this week. So unless something more dramatic happens, you shouldn't see a massive pullback. You might see a pullback because the way your price action typically works is you're going to hit a level of resistance and it's going to come back down. You've got a previous supply zone here, and if you go back, let's see, you're kind of just really looking for that former support level. It may just be off this level here, or it may be off this trend line. So today, if I'm looking at the SPY and I'm trying to anticipate what's going to happen, which is laughable in itself when I say that. But this is where you come up with your plan. This is part of the plan. Okay, well, what's your plan? Well, my plan is if we trade sideways on futures and the market opens and we push up, there's you got to keep in mind that on Friday we had a fantastic day on Friday. The momentum was the push up. We made it past, broke through trend line. I drew this trend line. Actually, I think I just drew that a few minutes ago. But it's the only upper support trend line that I can find to give me any kind of a guessing game. Oh, here we go. Take that back. I drew this a long time ago. Nope, wrong one. Oh, shit, I'm not sure where that line comes in at. Either way, the SPY is going to do one of three things. It's either going to push up and hit this previous hit some resistance, and from there it's going to do three things, or it's going to trade sideways and choppy, just like it has pretty much up until this point for the last several months, or it's going to drop down to a previous support level, bounce off of it, and come back up for a retest of another support line. And so depending on what the market does, you can see it right here. Here's a perfect example. Ah, shit, come on. The market opened and it kind of dropped down into this previous supply level and marched right back up to almost to a previous trend line support level. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at when you're charting, you have to look at all time frames. I see all time frames. I've got a list here: 5, 15, the 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily. And you can even drop back to the weekly chart here because that's where you're going to see previous major resistance on some of these levels. So if I were trading, you're cutting out real bad, man. But here's another. No, no. Well, you're cut. It may just be me, but you're cutting out pretty bad. But I just want to say something real quick. Here's a perfect example of drawing trend lines. So important. Dark Knight DK. He does a phenomenal job of charting and showing you the supply zones and your different brokers. I like Webull because of the cleanness of the chart and I can draw just much easier. But Thinkorswim has a volume profile that you can put in there, which is what DK uses, and you can see It gives you a lot more information to anticipate where is the movement of price going to happen. In the lower volume areas, the price will move much faster, and where you have a lot of trapped supply, a lot of potential sellers here, or even buyers, it's going to move a little bit slower to chop through that. But when you can chart out these trend lines at these key points where it appears that support buyers come in and buy up these support levels, where this tells you right here where to enter a trade. If it clearly bounces off this level and pushes higher, then your guesstimate, your bet, your assumption, whatever you want to call it, you've got a little bit more conviction in that trade. And once we broke above the open here, and once we broke above the previous day high, you can see here's a great example here. I'm just realizing this. Even though in the aftermarket, wait a minute. Here we go. I'm sorry. All right, so the previous day's high right here. As soon as we opened, look where we came to. You'll see this time and time again. This is one thing I love about charting. This is how you predict, not necessarily predict the future 100%, but you can get a very good idea of where you strongly believe the price action is going, because the previous day's high is a common area where a stock price, once it goes up to that level, and you've got swing traders, once swing traders have swung that trade, once it gets to the previous day high, they're going to take their profits because they know that that's a point of resistance and a level that traders are going to sell. So your chances of that continuing higher, at least at this point right here, are significantly less. This In this particular instance, the SPY came down and bounced off somewhat, kind of grinded and then bounced off the 200. And this is on a 5-minute chart as well. So you got to take into consideration that these lines are going to change depending on your time frame, and more importantly, if you remove extended hours, it's going to change even more. And now you can easily see the trend line that we got in. So right here, once we bounced off a level and came up and rejected off of a previous resistance level, as soon as we come back down, you're now establishing a trend. And this is where a big chunk of money can be made. And if you're patient enough, you can buy those option contracts a few weeks out, because on, what are we at here? About 399. 399 on the 28th, and we shot up to 403. Yeah, the same day, shit. Yeah, because I'm on the 5-minute. Um, this is where all your money can be made. Bounce, and then this is a fantastic upwards trend of price action, and just an easy grind upwards, bouncing off that trend line. Take your profits here. And if you've got multiple day trades or you're not bound by the PDT rule, you can take your profits here, let it come back down. If it shows that it's bouncing off some type of support line, be it a moving average or supply zone, or some type of previous resistance or support line, you can pick up that trade for the next grind upwards, and that's kind of where we're at now. So when it comes to what to anticipate, this is based solely on technical analysis. This does not have anything to do with fundamentals. I prefer to trade using technical analysis because, as you can see, in a bear market, when company valuations are shit, when the market is coming, the economy is pulling back and contracting, it doesn't matter what valuations are. It only matters what the price action is and what you can technically draw out and see that what all the other traders are going to be seeing, and not just really traders, you're also looking at the algorithms, which the algos do most of the trading every day. And the algos pick up on these price levels, support and resistance lines, trend lines, and the price action, and then traders just follow. I don't think people really understand the fact that we're not necessarily trading other followers or necessarily trading hedge funds. We're following the algorithms. Real quick, just to kind of recap on SPY here to go back, we're going to add the extended hours here. Um, I wouldn't say that this is a key level here because you're not really seeing, this is after hours trading. Um, you're not really seeing any kind of price action here that really gives that a lot of support. You're seeing a bounce down to here and then the slow grind upwards. So now that we had a great trading day Friday, a lot of times, or at least more recently, if we went back a week and took a look at last week's trading week, um, if we had a good day on the Friday before, that Monday there was likely a continuation. I don't know what the dates were here. That would have been the 22nd into the 25th. So if we took a look at the 22nd here, came down. Next week on the 25th, slow grind down. So not a good example there. But on Tuesday, bounced right off that 200 MA and pushed higher. And this is, in case it's not obvious, this is when Fed Powell came out and said pretty much same thing he said before, nothing special. And the market saw that as dovish, and we took off. So that's where we're at now. And I would expect this to continue up until um, we're either going to drop back down to some type of previous resistance or support level. It could be this here, it could be this trend line down here, or we could just shoot straight up right into the 200 MA and a previous resistance level. We could push right up into that and either bounce off of it, reject it, come back down, find support, push back, push even, try it again. It depends on how the market is going to react to those numbers tomorrow. So if you're a trader, can everyone still hear me? Well, I'm just going to keep talking. When you're looking on how to trade the SPY, you have to take into consideration your count. Are you bound by the PDT rule? Because if you're anticipating that the SPY is going to possibly push higher and maybe come back down, then you're limiting your trade. If you try to get in, if you FOMO and you try to get in here and it comes back down, you're going to be shitting your pants and considering your stop loss wherever, if you have it, wherever you place your stop loss, it's probably going to get hit. So I like to wait for it to come down to a level, and usually in the first 30 minutes, um, let's see here, if we had to go back to previous days, the market opening here at 9:30. So I would say in the first 15 to 30 minutes, the price action is going to drop down to some level, or it's going to push up to another level and come back down. It's going to bounce off previous resistance, come back down, find support, and it's either going to push or slow grind higher and try that again and push higher. And in this case, if I had to guess, my money would be on, since we bounced off support, came back, tested again, but pushed through, and now we're trading above it. I would expect it to at least test, come down and test and bounce off at least this level, possibly even this trend line that I've drawn before, or maybe come down lower and maybe test this level. That's a pretty big drop though. You, but again, if that data comes out and the market sees it as bad enough, then we might see that drop down here to 402. But traders, they're going to start buying it up typically. So it could easily bounce off that level and push back higher. And if it does bounce off this level and continue to bounce and push up, then this obviously here is where you'd want to be in that trade, and that's where options come in to be a nice money maker. Call options in this case, and even on zero days to expiration ODE. What else? Oh, let me show y'all Tesla. This is a great. This is what I've been trading this last week. Tesla has been because so many people are bullish on Tesla just because of the traders. You've got so much volume coming in. We've now broken through all the levels, the 200, the 100 to the 200. Let's take a look here and see what. That's the EMA. I like to switch between the EMA and the moving average and compare them because I'm always curious what's going to be that next level that traders are seeing out there that I'm not seeing in order to anticipate any kind of pullback. Uh, and and I would expect a pullback in this market at least this week at some point. Just don't know if it's going to be off of economic data or is it going to be off something else. It could just be taking profits as well. But we've got ignore these dots here. These are just Webull's indicators. But when I haven't marked up this chart, I'm mostly on the Thinkorswim platform, but I really like Webull's charts here for this kind of stuff. So let's see here. Let's draw a trend line. I just kind of just start drawing lines. What do I see? I see an upwards trend line support, and I see previous. What are some previous support and resistance levels? I see one here. Definitely see one here. And I don't want to go too far up and kind of clutter the screen. But if we're wait a minute, I'm trading the wrong damn stock. What am I thinking? Sorry guys. There we go. Jeez. All right. So Tesla. Well, I got a lot of shit going on here, don't I? Man, we broke right through. Okay, here we go. Tesla, same thing. So we saw this on the SPY, and now we're seeing this on Tesla. We're coming up to that 200 moving average. And so I'm going to go ahead and set a little reminder here, John. For me, I'm making kind of just my mental note here, and this little box is telling me that you're going to start to see things start to slow and grind down. And what do you know? Hit right off that high. So I'm just going to kind of move this little box here, and that lets me know when the trading opens tomorrow, we are going to see likely a drop down. I mean, honestly, it's with Tesla, it has just come right out of the gates and done a quick drop and pushed higher here in this case. And this was a key level, 850. What was it? I guess it was about 860 here. Very key previous supply zone area. Previous day, same thing. Previous support level here came down, and I had a trend line drawn as well. So it bounced off of that area, back up, and what do you know? Previous trend line but came right back down off of that, and then it kind of slow grind passed through there. Um, you can kind of go back and look at last week's Tesla price action and see that it either pushed up higher immediately out of the gates, then came back down, and then slow grind upward, or yeah, it looks like it just kind of shoots right up, comes back down here. Got a little bit of a drop. It took me a long time to understand swing traders, just your typical price action, volume, psychology of the markets, and world events in the news, and how it affected price action. You can you can almost bet, at least with on Tesla, has been more of a predictable pattern. If Tesla might pop, it might pop just a little bit, right out of the gates, and you really want to wait. Give it about 15, 20 minutes for it to find its support. And once it does, and it should pretty consistently bounce off of some type of support, especially on the 5-minute chart, you'll start to see buyers just come in. That volume will come in, and it'll shoot straight up. And this is where a lot of people use the 9-day EMA in yellow here to trade off of. I think they trade more like on a, let's see, is it a 2-minute? I've watched several traders trade off of that 9 EMA, and once that 9 EMA support is shown, it bounces right back up. Let's go back to, I like the 5-minute chart on Tesla, um, but once it finds that supports and pops right up, all right, here we go. Here's the 9 EMA, and it continues to bounce off the 9 and push higher. This is a great trade. My wife got COVID, and bless her heart, she's almost 100% recovered. She heals a hell of a lot faster than I do. But I believe this is the trade I took on Tesla, and once it started to kind of um, consolidate a little bit, find its support and push higher, I think I took profits. I kind of set a stop loss either on this candle or maybe on this one, but I traded out of it because in this market you have to assume that the price action is going to just completely reverse and it's going to go right back down. Bull trap, whatever you want to call it. And so no one ever went broke taking profits. Very, very important. I think you'll hear pretty much all of us old traders or traders just been doing this for a while. They'll say the same thing, and it took me years to really drill that into my brain. I'm a very stubborn person, and so I applaud the people that learn quickly from their mistakes and move on. But you've got to take profits. If you're in the green, and it's really important to watch price action. Weeble's not showing it on here, but there is a level two. There's a level two that I try to print screen and post throughout the trade day whenever I'm able to. And oh, here we go. Yeah, I've even got a open position on Tesla here. We'll see how it plays out. But the price action is absolutely imperative. Level two, you've got to be watching it because you'll be able to see things happen. Volume come in, buyers or sellers, and on in key areas where right here, if you were in the trade and you saw uh, the price drop, but buyers start to come in and buy up this zone here in this area, you'd see that on level two. And with enough experience watching and seeing that happen, it will give you the confidence to take that trade. Not having confidence, not studying your level two and not getting familiar with the price action and the volume, uh, you're going to continue to make mistakes or just get in bad trades. And that also took me a long time to learn. This is a you'll start to see the patterns form here, and even though this kind of sold off and came back down, it held support and pushed up and continued to make higher lows and higher highs. And the great thing about Tesla here that I'm starting to see more so than I would see in Apple, definitely not Microsoft, Nvidia. You have to take a look at the big picture because Nvidia, the news came out where not only Nancy Pelosi was in those trades. I'm sure it was all legal too. I'm sure there's nothing illegal going on there, but when you start to see the market and traders buy into Nvidia and the stock price just continue to go up after several days, that price action starts to get exhausted and traders start to take their profits. You're going to start to see not and hedge funds, of course, were absolutely making those trades as well because when the news broke about the CHIPS Act and now that it's been passed from the House, it's going to get signed. So we might have one last pop on the chip stocks, Nvidia, also Soxl, SOXL is also a leveraged ETF for the semiconductor chips. You might see one last pop on that, but for the most part, that trade is pretty much over. So once that news breaks, don't think that it's safer to assume that once that news breaks, where the CHIPS Act has been passed and signed, that people are going to um, they're not going to be trading that anymore. They're going to move on to the next thing. But with Tesla, I'm starting to see where the market is getting more confident, and that's pretty much what I saw here. The market was like, okay, oh shit, are we doing this? And you start to see more volume coming in. Okay, this is looking good. Tesla's holding up. All right, let's go ahead and let's buy into it. And towards the end of the day, instead of seeing a sell-off, which you would normally see, people took profits. Day traders, they got in the trade, they got their money, they're going to take their profits. Instead of seeing a sell-off, the market started getting a lot more confident, and you started to see more buyers holding instead of selling. And once we got up to this 850 level here, this is where my neighbor made 45,000 off of a $5,000 investment. He saw this 850 level hit and it did not break, and he went basically all in on his 5,000 account and bought puts and rode it all the way back down to, I don't know if he was trading off of 200 here or if a previous support level. And once he took that trade at 940, I think he took some profit in here. At 15 minutes later, he saw it did not, and here's again that 9 EMA. Touched the 9 EMA, would not break, and came back down. And what was that? 940 in about 40 minutes. 5x'd. And what's funny, even more ironic, he's been trading Tesla a lot lately. He actually bought a Tesla here a couple of days ago, and he's got half it paid off. He wants to try to pay off the rest by trading more Tesla. So I think that's kind of funny. Um, but anyway, so Tesla, based upon this chart, where's it going to go? Oh shit, let me go ahead and just delete that. Clean up some of this mess here. Got to do some housekeeping sometimes. So where's it going to go? When the data comes out, I expect a drop, but I personally will be looking at the volume, and if it drops down here, I'm going to be a buyer. Same here, same here. Uh, this stuff happens over and over and over again. You just have to find the right stock. Right now, for me, Tesla, and for a lot of other traders, Tesla's the right stock. Um, it's taken me a long time to figure out what am I good at? What do I see? What's going to happen? What can I predict? because it's the prediction and the just being sometimes a good guesser. Sometimes trading on some days is a lot of luck, but luck trading off of luck will blow up your account and will make you go broke. It's for the traders out there who are trading under a PDT restriction. You have 3 trades a week. You can get in, you can get out. In this market, in a bear market, but in this market especially, if you don't have the ability to get out of a trade, the odds are against you every single time. And I'm talking 90%. There's a 90% chance you're going to lose money because you have to take this into consideration. And this is very, very important for you folks that can't get out of trades in the PDT rule. We are in a bear market. The majority of traders are shorts. And anything that looks like a nail, they're going to hammer the shit out of it. Now, of course, the exceptions to those rules is HKD, which I've never seen anything like this before. You know, not GME, not AMC. This IPO'd here on the 18th, and I remember seeing this. I remember this day right here on the 22nd. I remember thinking, how is it possible for that stock to move that much on such low volume? I know the float is 3 million, and I get that. But so are a lot of other stocks. And to trade 1.46 Tough Built, TBLT is a good example. The Tough Built has a 1 point something million float. And so for this stock to move that much with that much volume usually means and on a grand scale that it's the short squeeze of all short squeezes, meaning that uh, shorts shorted the shit out of this. Uh, you know, they may have shorted it. I wouldn't be surprised if traders shorted this up here and even in here, and they thought for sure it's going to come down and drop down a little bit so they could get out of their trade and break even. Nope, didn't even come back down to a 200 or anything. Instead, buyers just came in, and I don't know who's buying this. I remember thinking at $200, 150. You know, the key psychological levels, $100 for sure. Um, you know, 25, 50, 75, of course, the 10, 20, 30s, you know, those are all major psychological levels in trading and where a lot of people take their profits. Or if it breaks through and retests those levels, they might get into the trade. But this is kind of defying all the rules of trading that I'm aware of, especially on penny stocks, because that's all this is. It's an IPO penny stock. Well, I was listening to a YouTube streamer Friday, and right about what was it? I think I want to say no, it wasn't HKD. It was MGAM. Here we go. I took 5 shares because that's all I'm willing to lose. Well, this is on a small account, trading on my daughter's account, and who knows nothing about trading. But I love trading these small accounts because it's a challenge. Can I get to 25,000? Um, but the YouTuber took a trade in here, and he has a shit ton of followers that watch that stream every day, and so that's an easy trade on a low float, 1.5 million float. People are looking, and here's the psychology of the market. People are looking for the next HKD. It's got to be an IPO, and it's got to be a low. I think my mic is running out of battery juice. Let me plug in real quick. You guys feel free to ask questions. I haven't been checking the chat here. Oh shit. No, I love the feedback, man. If anyone has any questions, dude, just stop me. I'd love to answer questions. Anyways, yeah, eh, uh, you're, man, you're welcome. I love this stuff. I've been in so many chat rooms. I bought so many, I don't know, programs or whatever you want to call it. The Tim Sykes, the Tim Grattani though is pretty awesome, but there's a lot of traders out there. Gosh, what's his name? He's an Asian dude, and but he makes millions off trades. But his programs, no one really explains the very important little details and psychology behind why stocks move and what's the reason, like the second and third day short squeeze. That's a very profitable strategy. I completely forgot about it until someone brought it up someday somewhere else. And I like going into different chat rooms and listening and seeing what other people are talking about. For new traders, I don't recommend going into Wall Street Bets because I saw someone in there earlier like, "Hey guys, I'm new here. How are y'all?" And of course, they say the response is, "Fuck off, get out of here, plebe." So you got to be careful what areas. Oh no shit, dude. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of new people understand. Johnny knows a lot. There's it's one thing, when I watched his YouTube videos, you look at him and you think, this guy's a kid, what does he know about trading? He's pumping Mullen, and if you just came in now and just saw that these few videos, you wouldn't know anything and you wouldn't be able to get anything about who Johnny really is. But I can't believe I've been in here for a long time, and I've said for the most part tried to sit in the shadows, and I tried to help people when I could. But Johnny knows his shit. And the OEG, Johnny, I'm still gonna play OEG, man. But in fact, let's talk about that real quick because I want to show y'all something real fast. First of all, let me say this about OEG. If you're in OEG and you're bag holding, there's going to be an opportunity to get out of it, but it's very, very important to understand that an offering, a dilution of shares, is coming. And it's likely going to be right around the corner when, I don't know if people know this, but companies will pay other companies. They'll either assign them shares, sell them shares, or give them shares as part of uh, it's it will come across or be called kind of a trade-off for helping promote our company and helping people get the word out on what OEG is and how diversified we're trying to be and all the bullshit. We're going to give you shares in return. But what's actually going to happen with those shares or behind the scenes is that promotion company is going to pump that stock. And even though it might not be clearly stated or disclosed in any way, the purpose will be to get the stock price up to a certain level so that they can do an offering and generate money to hopefully reinvest in the company, to make the company better, to pay off debt, to have some cash flow, to hire people, et cetera, et cetera. And so with OEG is no different. An offering is coming. The stock is going to get pumped. But what I was honestly laying in bed. I was so tired at 4 in the morning when I posted that. So it's funny. Poor Johnny wakes up and is like, "Oh fuck, not this again." No. Uh, yeah, but and only reason I posted this because I read through Benzinga kind of this guy Zach Small Cap Research. There is due diligence in their position or in their perspective of this company. And so, but you've also got to go through here and kind of read through the BS and filter out, okay, well, what's good and what's BS. And so, the things that stood out to me, number one, they sold off a part of their business, part of the oil and gas or the oil business that was not really generating much money. And I will tell you, I'm in the oil and gas business. I put pipelines in the ground. We just put a 36-inch crude oil pipeline, which is the largest, and this particular line is the largest um, crude oil production line in North America. And it just so happens that Samsung decided that they wanted to build their new semiconductor plant, 1,200 acres, right on top of this pipeline right after we put it in the ground. And so I'm in the process of negotiating with landowners, coordinating with the pipeline company, which is Exxon, and Samsung in order to all of us work together to reroute, find a route for the pipeline. Once we've negotiated a price for the pipeline, and I will tell you that as of right now, landowners are selling in this area $150,000 per acre, which is an astronomical number. And across the street, a developer has 80 acres for sale across the street from Samsung at $500,000 per acre. A $500,000 per acre is ridiculous, stupid ridiculous. And I don't see them getting that, but they might get 300,000 per acre. So uh, when I see this particular administration, how they've treated oil and gas companies, they've been very clear that they want war and they want to put oil and gas companies out of business. Uh, that shouldn't be anyone's question, or no one should be guessing as to why oil and gas prices are so high and production is low. So, but I'm going to digress on that. Let's get back on track. They've sold their oil and gas part of the company, and they have a telecommunications segment created by acquiring Gibson Technical Services. Before before I started this project, I worked for a fiber optic telecommunications company, and I can't tell you it's kind of a mom and pop operation, but they supply all of Central Texas internet, internet, phone, voice type stuff. Not the They mention it in here. Damn it. There we go. They mention it here. Sale of orbital gas. Yep, these subsidiaries provided the proprietary gas measurement and sampling technologies. So they sold it. Or excuse me, company announced it was planning on divesting. There might not have a buyer. Yeah, that if they're only planning on selling it for 6.7, that's not a whole lot. 6.7 million, written down to an expected sale price value of 6.7 million. In May of 2022, oh, these assets were sold to UK-based N0, which operated similar businesses, for £3,000. Okay, so they did sell. This sale is expected to improve overall profitability for the company. Okay, so what? So this told me when I read this that now they've got cash, but at the same time they also acquired the telecommunications company. The segment was created with the acquisition of Gibson Technical Services in April of 2021. And John, if you already know all this stuff, or if there's anything new in here that you don't know, I'd like to know that information because I'm kind of, or maybe you can just kind of give your overall picture in the end. Damn. Mhm. Oh shit. Damn. I can see why they would think that. Damn. Damn, dude. I get it now. That's fucked up. Damn. I don't blame you, dude. There she is. Yep, $11. Damn. Hmm. They must have been burning cash like a motherfucker for a long time. Hmm. Which is what it says in here too. Yeah, that's it. Yep, yep. Let me give you an idea of what uh, kind of a brief process for these kind of projects because on the telecommunications, really it's in telecommunications, in pipeline, really anything that involves an easement where they put a utility across your property, they have to have an easement unless they buy the property outright, and that almost never happens unless they're putting in some kind of substation in. But you have to have the right-of-way agent, is what it's called, or a title agent, which I do all of those things. And for this telecommunication company, that's what they paid me to do is to find out who the property owner is. You got to go down to the county courthouse and pull the documents and make sure you have the right property, the correct landowner, and then you contact that landowner and say, hey, we need to do some maintenance on your line. We're going to be coming out there next week to survey and that's always the first part. You just find out the landowner, contact the landowner, get survey crews out there to survey the property because you're going to have to, if you're buying a new easement or even if you're doing any kind of repairs to the line, you have to have and create what's called a plat or a plan and profile that shows the location of the line or the utility and how far where it's located on the property because you're going to have to anyone who's doing any kind of work has to have some type of map or schematic in order for them to know exactly where it is that they're going to be doing the work. That first phase is a shit ton of money. Construction can often be half that or 40% of that total budget. Whereas the front end, the landman, the people doing the research can be anywhere from 50 to 60 or even 75% of that budget. What stood out to me in these particular ones, and this is involves the contracts that they've got. Um, there's a specific. Uh, Here we go. So they they acquired Frontline Power, I believe. Yeah, it was acquired in November. Houston-based, that provides construction, maintenance, and emergency response services for customers. They install and maintain electrical distribution systems and substation infrastructures throughout Texas. Where is it at? I'm looking for America. I know, and I'm sorry for opening up these wounds, these scars. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time on this, so let's just say this. And when it comes to for me trading it, and PK, this goes out to you. I don't know if you're listening or not, but he's in pretty deep on this one. I think at 175 is what he said, I believe, or 170s. Um, oh, $1.75. I think he said 17,000 shares. It was a lot of shares. I think his average was in the 170s. Where's PK? It was just tonight. He just posted it in here. Maybe it's in Stock Chatter. I don't know. It's in here somewhere, but uh, I think there's going to be an opportunity that they're going to pump this up to a certain level, and but that mixed shelf, man. Nowadays they could do an offering in the middle of a trading day. I think typically it comes right before market open or right at market open. They'll take that offering price at the market open. What are you seeing? Yeah. All right, so we'll move past that. What stood out to me in this article, or whatever, was there's two companies, AEP, American Electric Power, and CenterPoint Energy, and the CenterPoint Energy is the electric company for all of Houston, and that map looks like this. All of these yellow squares here are all of the electrical transmission lines for. I just changed it. You know what? I was doing that with other people before. I don't know why that was, but anyways. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what that was going on then. All right. Well, that's enough for OEG. That's now that I know your history. I'm very reluctant to touch that. uh, that's unreal. And that's what I appreciate and and that's why I have immense respect for you because you'll literally pick up the phone and call these people. And most traders don't. Well, hmm. That's a good segue into what I'm about to show folks. As my trading has evolved, more so in the last 6 months to 6 to 12 months, The market has changed significantly. We've obviously come out of a nice bull run, and a lot of people, if you don't know this, it's important to keep in mind and take it in consideration. Anytime an analyst report comes out, anytime you get anyone that wants to give recommendations on the market, and especially on Wall Street, you've got people that run multi-million and billion-dollar funds that have never traded in a bear market. And so all they know are bull market rallies. That's all they know. They don't have the experience to see what's coming down the road. And so I love watching videos of Ray Dalio and all the old guys across the board, especially Michael Burry, which is if y'all haven't seen the movie The Big Short, you have got to see that movie because history is repeating itself, and it might not be in the housing market per se, but our overall economy is is on the I wouldn't say on the verge of collapse, but it usually happens in a slow downward spiral because you've got as 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 inflation goes up and people stop spending, they're going to stop buying products. They're going to stop buying iPhones, and they're going to stop their Netflix subscriptions. And so we're seeing that slowdown process start. The numbers for this quarter were a lot better than I thought they would be, but you also have to understand that companies are doing what's called sandbagging, where they report, they'll take the good numbers and they'll split them up so that the next earnings report doesn't look so bad, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. I firmly believe that the next earnings is going to be a lot worse, and that's where we're going to see in 3 months we'll really see the markets really turn around. And I think, yeah, yeah, and I don't think that we're going to see a rug pull tomorrow, but I don't know when you got on, Johnny, but I was showing some of the other guys earlier that September is typically when kids go back to school, parents spend a shit ton of money on new clothes, school supplies, school lunches, everything, and so families typically pull back their spending just as part of the season. And so I think that in September, at the very latest, you're going to see the quote unquote rug pull, slow rug pull, it's going to definitely start coming down. If it doesn't already in the middle towards the end of August, I think we'll probably have a couple of good weeks of maybe a little bit of a rally and maybe a pullback and then maybe a little bit rally higher. When you take a look at the SPY, you take a look at Tesla, the stocks are only going to go so high, and the daily chart is like right here, 200 moving average. Tesla and SPY were coming up to it or are right there. And no, you're good. Uh, I have my COVID line drawn. What is that? That's 7. What was it? 20? Yeah, 2020. It was March of 2020. Yeah, March of 2020, right? Yeah, volume is a lot less. A lot less. I want y'all to yeah, here we go. Can y'all see my screen now with the 2020 COVID level before the crash? I want y'all to think about something. When COVID hit and we crashed, the market was at SPY was at 322. The economy was doing great. The companies were expanding, people were spending. I don't know if y'all know our economy goes to shit once consumers stop spending. But in March of 2020, we were growing as a nation, an economy. That was the best things were. Now we're still way the fuck up here. Way the fuck up here. Down here is the best things were. This is why you hear Burry and Ray Dalio, a lot of people, your uh, doomsdayers, whatever you want to call them. I'm starting to hear a few more of your old seasoned guys that have the respect of Wall Street. Now they're slowly starting to say this thing is looking like it's going to be a lot worse than we thought it would be. And when I say that thing, I mean call it a crash, call it whatever you want to. It's not going to be a crash. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be the start, the what you would call it, the first stock market crash or whatever. It's not going to happen like that. We have not only do the algorithms and the stock trading computers have um, uh, volatility halts in place to prevent that thing from happening, but it's going to happen over the next, likely over the next year or two. And as people stop spending and companies start laying off more people, the the cyclical effects of that are people are going to not be able to afford the houses that they live in. And so they're going to have to rent. And when you take a look, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a second. When you take a look and listen to what people have been saying about the Great Reset and the Klaus Schwab, if you haven't read the book by Klaus Schwab called The Great Reset, you need to, because they are, even though they're not specific and they're somewhat subtle, they clearly state within the first few pages of that book that CEOs of companies and people who are on the board of major companies, they can be activists for certain causes by using their voting power on those boards. And that's almost verbatim what it says in that book. What I think is very interesting is that the Oracle of Omaha, um, help me out here, Oracle of Omaha, my brain. Anyways, he's buying up Oxy, buying up a shit ton of shares of Oxy. And what I don't understand is um, oil has had its ups and downs, and we do see the price of oil. In my opinion, it's going to come back up. I don't think it's going to get up to $160, but right before a major recession, oil goes up and then it comes down. And when it goes up again, the it's almost like it when it rebounds uh, as the cyclical markets evolve throughout this process. When the price of oil comes back up, people have been laid off, and companies. That's when the bad shit happens because companies. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah, around that time. I don't remember the exact number, but that sounds about right. And here's the reason why it is impossible. It is impossible. I'd say impossible. Nothing's impossible these days. The only way that the stock market, okay, uh, the economy is a different beast. The stock market, when it comes to company valuations and company profits, if you lose your job, you're not going to go out there and buy the next new iPhone. You're going to cancel your Netflix subscription. You know, you go to your grocery store. Um, my wife and I, we are very aware of the cost of things. And while not all food, strawberries and shit, while not all food is 20% more, it's at least 10 to 15% more. Some things are 20 to 25% more. We're not, no, it hasn't come back down. And when you look at over time, the cost of things have not. Uh, they haven't gone back to what they were before. And the reason for that is because we're still printing money. When you put more money in circulation, it devalues the money that's out there. And with this CHIPS bill, this is very important, folks. Listen to this very carefully. It started out as 55 billion, and when it passed and it's ready for Biden's signature, it is over 150 billion now. And what no one asks is how much is that by creating that money, how much does that add to our inflation rate? And on top of that, if we're giving these companies this money, the Intels, the semiconductor companies, if we're giving them this money and creating it out of thin air, who gets to keep the profits? We don't. And so, and they don't have to pay it back, but we do. And I'll just leave it at that. At that. But let's talk about making money. Um, there is a lot of money made on the downside. I don't think we've started that just yet. Yeah, I think you saw I've got a 370 put here. And there's a lot of folks. There's a lot of money to be made out there this week. That's why I'm trading Tesla because it makes the biggest moves personally. And with my work, I can typically only trade like at open, and then maybe for about 30 minutes after that, and then I usually have to get to work. But when I keep these notes here, these are very important. Watch for ES for confirmation. When Tesla was trading and we were trying to figure out if it was going to break this key level here, um, I I watched the futures. Let's see here. Where's it right here? Johnny, let me know if my Thinkorswim charts pop up because so I've got this is pretty much uh, I look at the VIX. I have that chart up all the time. I look at the SPX, the S&P 500 index, the mini Nasdaq futures. Uh, the NQ and the ES is what I'll typically watch because that tends to follow ahead of all the other stocks tend to follow the futures. And right now I'm looking at this range here between the high that we printed here at 41.44 and a fairly strong support level, 4,085-ish, 4,090. So at the very worst, I would expect to pull back at 4,050. When the market opens tomorrow, I'm going to be watching this and the NQs because there's key support and resistance levels here that are clearly defined on my chart. And so, depending on what news comes out, and thank you for posting, Johnny, the what's going to be released tomorrow in the morning, economic data, because that's what the market will likely the price action will be affected by that news, but in my opinion, it won't be as affected or strongly affected because we've already seen the worst of the news, the CPI data, which was absolute shit. I can't even believe that the market's going up right now, but it kind of just tells you how manipulated shit is. And even though Wall Street sees that more as a temporary bearish sign because maybe they were expecting it to be a lot worse. Um, uh, Earnings, it basically came down to earnings. They weren't as bad as they thought it would be. So that's why we've got one of the reasons why we've got this run. But I'll be watching ES and NQ tomorrow at market open to see, based upon its reaction to the news, how it reacts. And if the news is bad, the market, the futures react negatively, they're going to start to come down, obviously. But where are traders, where's the price action going to bounce? Is it going to bounce off the 40-50 level? Because if it does bounce, and it might bounce once, come back and retest that level again, but it also might turn around and reverse and make its way back up, and then we'll see another run, likely past those levels. Um, that's pretty much what I'm going to be watching. But based upon do I I wanted to do this the other night, man, before that Tesla trade. I felt bad not being able to, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I had to gain the trust first. Um, and I'll try to do this as often as I can, even during the day, because I'd love to show people, especially on these smaller accounts, your strategy completely changes when you are bound by PDT. And, and you have to be more restrictive and disciplined. Disciplined. They say trading is disciplined. I don't think people really understand how disciplined in trading you must be in order to be profitable, because we're not here to hang out and have fun. We're here to fucking make money. And not just a little bit. We're here to make a lot. And I I that drives me to help anyone out that I can. And man, I got a lot of respect for Dark Knight. I don't know what your real name is, but DK, all you guys that have been here for a while, y'all bring it every day. You help people nonstop, and I love that. That's why I'm still here, man. I'll hop into other chat rooms just to see what the mood is like. If anyone's got any trades or insider knowledge that I could pass along to somebody else, but um, for the most part, and every single time, I always come back here. This is my home. I love it here. I love the people. Everybody treats each other with respect and tries to help out. But at the end of the day, we're here to make money, and so I'm looking forward to the next opportunity that I can to do a live trade. It might be tomorrow. It might be on a moment's notice, and on these smaller accounts, especially with my daughter's account, we went from 300 to 1200 in one day. Um, and so it's now granted I used up all her day trades in that one day, and I think two of those were on Tesla. But it's not difficult to get to 25,000, and you just have to be very specific and very disciplined about what you're going to trade. And the biggest part of that is knowing what to trade. After that, it's knowing when to get in, and after that, it's knowing when to get out. And sometimes you have to get out as soon as you get in, and that's where the discipline comes in. I, a lot of traders say that you've got to have rules, you got to have a stop loss. I stopped having a stop loss that I would set and walk away from, because market makers see that. They know where those stop losses are, and they will trigger that stop loss. Uh, you'll watch it in price action, and it'll be just above where yours was every time. So I stopped setting stop losses, and I watched the price action. I watched the trade. I stopped trading and walked away, only to come back and be down. In this market, especially because everything's going to get hammered by shorts or puts. But I'm excited to make money for people and make money myself. Let's get past the PDT rule, because at that point, instead of having 3 trades a week, I'll be trading 50 times a day easily. There are so many scalps and so many resistance levels that stocks everywhere hit, and traders know that. And as soon as it gets to that point, there's a good sell-off, and in 5 to 15 minutes, you can make a shit ton of money, especially on OD 0 day expiries. I saw a Reddit post here recently where a guy really broke down and did some due diligence on ODE stuff, and put a table out on uh, just this last week on where the most profitable ODEs were, and at what time frames. It was pretty cool the way he broke it down. I'm eager to dig into, because not it's not River, it's who's the other guy? Trade Spy Street, dude. The guy's amazing, just amazing. But him and DK, they're patient. They wait. They know when Spy goes up, especially on a good day, when it goes up, there's a certain time where it starts to roll over. They know it's coming down. They're just waiting, just waiting. And when that moment hits, uh, I something else I want to pass along to folks. This is very important, guys. When you're watching, when you're in a trade or you're just watching price action, you have to know where the shorts are going to open a position, where they're going to add to that position, where they're going to wait until they know where your stop losses are or where they typically are, and where they know that you are going to think that a reversal has happened and the stock's about to turn bullish. They know at that perfect critical point to hammer that sell, the hammer the was it the ask or the bid? They're going to hammer the price action and drive it back down, and they're going to force you to stop out and take a loss or cut your losses, and it's going to slowly grind back down. And I want to show y'all let's do Netflix. Here's a good example. So up to this point here, the price action was bouncing off of 200. This is on a 5 minutes, on bouncing off 200 moving average. On a 5 minute candle, this is where it's important to kind of switch between the sometimes even the 1 minute. I'll see, here's a kind of a good indicator, but this 5 minute candle will turn into a red candle here. But 5 minute is typically what a lot of traders trade off of on intraday day traders who are not swing traders. The 5 minute is pretty standard. And what you're looking for is something, shit, sorry. I don't think that's what I was looking at earlier. Damn, I'm trying to find that perfect example here. All right. So what they're looking for is this. You're looking for that strong push down. The 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 shorts coming in and shorting it in conjunction with hitting people's stop loss right here, and people getting out of the trade once it breaks these levels. The shorts will start to attack right in here where this candle closes. They're going to use this as where they're going to enter their position. The key, short traders look for this type of candle. This type of candle was not it was strong, and it it opens up a short trader's eyes, but the support off of moving averages is not enough to consider opening a trade. This candle breaking through that support is what basically just gets you ready. When it starts to trail down and comes back up, that retest, looking left, retest of this area right here, uh, it it it's almost like a second confirmation. Now, on this level here, they pushed up above it, but then we came back down here. Um, shit, that's not a very good example. Typically, though, they'll look to the left. It's what they say. They'll look to your left, and if the price action continues to come back down, once it starts to go back up and retest this level here, that's where they'll take that position. It's weak. It's below any kind of previous support. I guess I don't have VWAP on here for some reason. It's below VWAP, and right around in here is where they'll hammer, and it will just continue down. And it'll either be a slow grind or it will be a hard push, depending on what that float is over here. Float is the first thing I look at whenever I hear a stock. If I'm over here at top gainers in the day or after hours pre-market, um, I'll I'll click on that ticker and I'll look to the float. And if it's a very low float, it's going to move fast. And lately, the penny stocks, low float penny stocks or micro floats, make you make a lot of good money. Um, this is an interesting one because this MGAM is where we had a lot of buying come in, where one of the YouTubers who streams a lot, streams every day, he bought in this as well. I believe, yeah, right around in here, and it found previous support and started to climb off of that support line. Now at this point, obviously in after hours it shot up, but you either had sellers, that $15 level here, another psychological level, but you may have had a lot of short sellers come in or people taking profits, which drove the price down. But there seems to be somewhat of a trend of a support line that's being formed right in here. And so now the puzzle, the picture is starting to come together where you're trying to figure out where are buyers and sellers entering the trades. Um, Buyers are definitely coming in here. We've also got 50 EMA, 50 moving average, that it seems to be somewhat bouncing off of and holding its support. You could take it as the price action develops and moves forward. There's probably a better way to describe it than what I just did, but I will redraw my lines because you're constantly changing the picture here. What patterns are forming? Well, that's not really a pattern, but if I move this here, you can see that um, pennant, ascending triangle, whatever you want to call it, is starting to form. And so you know that when the market opens with this low of a float at market open, I haven't heard of any big news about any other company out there that is going to send the stock price just rocketing. And so traders will come back to the trades from last week or from Friday. This was the hot stock on Friday. This is likely going to easily push up higher. I expect it to not only retest this 1489, but to push past it pretty easily on a 1.5 float. Again, all traders are looking for the next HKD. This is just, I just can't shake my head enough at this stock. And here's the crazy part. Don't be surprised if this goes to 1,000. It's a rotating, reciprocating, massive short squeeze where shorts come in and they think, okay, surely this has got to be it. Surely it's not going to go past 500. And then they pile on, and then more. You know, there's a guy out there who's a former market maker trader. I meant to find the guy's name, but he goes into great detail on these types of trades, um, especially the OTC markets. He said that the OTC markets is the most highly manipulated market out there because it doesn't take much. It doesn't take as many millions to easily move and take money from people in OTC as it does your Apples, and other stocks. And they're not as looked at and regulated as much by Wall Street, by the SEC, and a lot of your federal regulators. But these are the stocks that he would joke about, where they would go in and they would um, just dump tons of shares. HKD, maybe HKD came to a fund on Wall Street and said, "Hey, we want to offload 1 billion shares." Now, granted, in this case, obviously there's not that many, but um, it wouldn't take much to offload millions of shares at $484 a share. I mean, that would just be, but it happens. Um, they're a lot of companies are not based in the United States, or they have a broom closet with a number on it that some company in a warehouse has rented out. So I expect MGAM to attempt to be it's it I don't see this going to $500. Of course, I said that about HKD, but um, the psychology of the market starting tomorrow is FOMO. It's already reached up to 15. It's making higher highs and higher lows, and this thing's going to climb. But just know that when it reaches $20, there's likely going to be a sell-off, and you can, if you want to find out what's going to happen with MGAM, MGAM, go look at HKD. Where's $20? Way back here. Shit. What happened when it reached $20? Jesus, man, this thing's been 1870. It basically it opened and blew right past it. Oh man, this is just I've never seen a stock move like this. Johnny, have you seen anything like this before, man? Not cost, not oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah, $13. And the float's been around 3 million ever since, but I still just it's crazy. 489. 7? Let's take a look. 715. No, 2 weeks, 14 days. Still. And most of the move was in the last 2 days. Yes, it went from $80 to 485 in 2 days. Unheard of. And another thing that people need to be aware of is that when just because a stock IPOs, there are usually shares available to short that day. So, and when there are many times where employees are able to sell their shares on IPO day. There's no lockup period. Hmm. Damn. What? I don't know if anybody asked any questions or if anybody's got anything. I'm probably gonna get off here in a little bit. Um, yeah. What time is it where you're at? Oh, you asshole. It's 12:42 here in Central. But I'm always up late. Um, I love coffee. All right, guys. Good luck. I'll see y'all in the morning. Absolutely. If I can be, yeah, you too, man. You too. If I can be on at the opening bell, and I likely will be unless something else comes up, I'll try to live stream the Tesla trade tomorrow. Yeah. All right, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for listening.